All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming today. Yeah, as Adonia mentioned, we have, it's a little bit quieter today because our 9 to 12-year-olds are all at a retreat up in Snow Mountain Ranch. And it was actually this retreat that was the inspiration of the sermon today. Ownership, the beauty of ownership. So I got a little video from the retreat they sent me. We'll send out all the pictures and videos later, but I just wanted to share this video because I thought it was really, inspiring. Yeah. I was so inspired when I saw that. I'm looking forward so much to them returning in about an hour or so with, lots of really fresh memories and new friendships and really wonderful experience and hopefully big smiles on their faces. That's really the hope. The reason why I wanted to talk about ownership with this retreat is that it's kind of how it all came about in the first place. So our youth ministry team had organized a winter workshop for our teenage youth, or 13 and up, at the end of December. And William and Claire had come for some reason in the middle of that just to stop by the church. And they saw that this workshop was happening. And William was really inspired. He saw everything that was going on, and he thought, oh my gosh, I wish we had something like this for the younger kids, the 9 to 12-year-olds, or, just whatever age group, younger kids. And so he texted us a couple days later, and he said, I'd like to help with organizing a workshop for the younger kids, and the idea would be that it would be an annual thing. And so we were like, that sounds great. We'll connect you with some other people who, you could work with to make this happen. So, we reached out to Mitzi, we reached out to David, and Adonia was a part of this team. And then was born the idea, let's do a retreat for the 9 to 12-year-olds. And so I think that the really beautiful thing for me about that was that it's not something that we planned. It's not something that we initiated. It's not even something that was really on our radar so much. Of course, Adonia and I are always looking at the community and, our families, our couple situations, our kids situations. And, I tell you, there's never a shortage of needs. There's never a lack of things that we could be addressing more or doing more for. And that there's never a time where there's not some type of crisis happening or some kind of very challenging situation that is going on in the community, even if you're not always aware of it. There's always something going on. So it can be a little bit overwhelming sometimes, but we have to focus on, the energy and the people that we have to deal with the things that we've, committed to dealing with. But doing a retreat for the 9 to 12-year-olds was not part of the plan for the year. But it was really because one person, and believe me, I never expected it to be William. One person stepped forward and said, hey, I think we need something for this age group, and I'm willing to put some effort and time and energy into it. And he inspired others, and then somehow we got this retreat happening. And not only is the retreat happening, but we also had one young lady and her dad flew out from Alabama just for the retreat. And we had this family, Genty's family, that was already planning to come around this time anyway, but since the retreat was happening and they have a 9-year-old daughter, the 9-year-old daughter could participate as well. And it's, I think, a real testament to me. I love seeing these kind of things happen. Not because Adonia and I, made a plan and a goal, we need this to happen or that to happen, or because it's some kind of a direction or initiative, but because one person, out of their own desire to want to do something, put forward an idea. And because that idea was meaningful to other people, it caught on. So there's a couple things about it. There's, for me, the inspiration of it happening, but also the reality that was actually being inspired by something that was already happening, that our youth ministry was doing, of their own ownership. They also realized, we should do a winter camp. No one told them that we should have a winter camp. They just realized, it's good to have something in between summer camps. And, we haven't done a winter camp in a while, but, actually, I don't even know when the last time we did a winter workshop for our teenagers. But they just decided that they were going to do that. So ownership inspires ownership, I guess is the point. But what is ownership? Most people, we use the word ownership a lot, right? Like we use it in our family pledge, and, our true parents use the term ownership a lot. But I think most people, when they think of the word ownership, they don't think about in terms of a spiritual sense. They think about it in terms of possessions, like owning a possession, having something, right? But for us, ownership is actually more of a type of stewardship. It's not so much about owning a thing, or even like the mentality around owning a thing, like owning a house or owning a car. It's more about the type of attitude around being responsible for a dream, being responsible for a vision, whether that's God's dream or my own dream, or my child's dream, or whatever it is. That's more the kind of ownership that we're talking about. And nobody can own a dream, but we can all take responsibility for one. Anyone can have responsibility for a dream. So this is a quote that I found that I thought kind of related to this. You're in that position. If you only follow me and depend on me for instruction, then you have not done your own work. You have to take the initiative. Before I give instructions about what to do, you can anticipate what needs to be done and put your ideas into action. Your victories and accomplishments will inspire God and to begin to trust and depend on you always. So, he gave these type of words at a time in our movement where we all, I think, were waiting for direction and what's the next thing to do. And I think that was an important element of what our church and our movement was about at that time. But even at that time, which I think this speech was given in the 60s or 70s even, 70s, I think, it's also important not just to follow and not just to unite, but also to have our own initiatives and follow through with the initiatives that are close to our own hearts. It gives me confidence, especially when I see things like, this 9 to 12 retreat happening. It gives me some hope because I know that just between Adonia and I, and even amongst all the people that we have that help out with things, it's impossible to cover the breadth of needs in the community. But it gives me hope to see that these things can and do happen, because it shows me that if we make our effort, then God will try to fill in the areas that we're missing. And because there's many areas that we're lacking and missing in, that is encouraging. Many people say that, I already invested a lot of time in the church. I gave a lot of my life. And that's not unique to our own church, or any church for that matter. You see this kind of a thinking and mentality all over the place. Whether it's, I already tried to make my millions. I tried to start a business. I tried to be an entrepreneur. I tried hard already to climb the corporate ladder. I tried to raise my kids the best I could. I tried being a good parent. I gave my time and my money to the church. The reality is that this kind of discouragement and burnout happens everywhere. Not just people in our church or people in other churches, but all over the world. In a sense, it's actually a compliment in a way, because I think that it shows that you tried to do something in your life that was really meaningful to you, or you felt was really meaningful to God or something. And you put your effort into it. You poured your heart and your investment into something. And yes, maybe it was a little bit discouraging. Maybe things didn't turn out the way that we thought that they would. But I think that if we never tried to do something meaningful, and everything just worked out the way we thought it was going to work out, then there'd be no possibility of getting discouraged. We get discouraged because we tried hard to do something, because we poured our heart into something, and it didn't always work out. And that's the reality of life. That's the reality of life for everybody. Nothing that we try is guaranteed to work out. But the question is then, what do we do afterwards? Because everybody goes through this experience at some point in their life of getting discouraged. And I find that, we all have our own course in life. And sometimes the path of refreshing ourselves or trying again can take a long time. Sometimes it can be a short time. But I find that the people who are able to kind of stand up again, despite a discouraging situation, despite a major setback, despite a disappointing outcome, are really the gems. And there are many people like that here, which I'm very grateful for. I read a book over Christmas break. I can't remember the name of the book, but it's about the founding of Netflix. Anyone here not know what Netflix is? Okay, amazing. Universal understanding. Everyone knows what Netflix is. And a friend of mine had recommended the book, and I thought I'd give it a read. I used to read a lot of development books, and it's been a while. I think I stopped reading them for a while, but this Christmas I decided to give another one a try. And actually this book was so inspiring to me. Now, I know that not everybody likes Netflix, but just to, the story of how Netflix has developed is really an underdog story. It's really quite a story of overcoming setbacks and challenges. And one of the things is that you may not know, but Netflix actually didn't start off as a streaming service. They didn't even start off as a DVD rental service. Does anybody know how they started? Angie?
I was going to say DVD rental because I've actually heard the story as well. But
Okay.
That's not right.
No, it's not. Before they rented DVDs, what did Netflix do? Anybody? No. Can you imagine getting a VHS in the mail as a rental? They would be losing so much money. They started off selling DVDs. So Netflix started at a time when DVDs were just becoming known. It was a niche market. Only movie cinephiles, people who were really into movies, only those people were buying DVDs. And it was a new technology. They weren't sure, how well it was going to be adopted, what standard they were going to settle on, all these things. So it was only the people who were willing to put down big money who were buying DVDs, and nobody was renting them at the time. So when Netflix started, they understood that from the beginning, their success was going to be in renting. Because they knew that any company, whether it's Walmart or Amazon was getting big at the time too, any company could sell DVDs fairly easily. It's just a matter of paying and then getting it shipped to you. But they really felt that their success was going to be in discovering how to make renting DVDs successful. Because for one thing, DVDs weren't even popular yet, but how were you going to rent DVDs in a way that was going to actually make you money? If they're paying a small fee to have it shipped to you and ship it back and ship to you and ship it back, how do you make money with that? So after a while of doing their business, they got to the point where 95% of their sales of their revenue was selling DVDs. And 5% of their revenue was renting DVDs. And they were like, how can we get people to rent DVDs? And they tried everything. They tried promotions. They tried freebies. They even put you buy this DVD player, and on the box there's a sticker that you could redeem for free, like a bunch of free rentals, that kind of thing. They tried everything to get people to rent the DVDs, and people would rent the DVDs, and then they would cancel their subscription, you know? And, you know, they knew that they had to wean off of this sales revenue, but it was a really hard decision because almost all their income was sales of DVDs. But they knew that as soon as other companies started doing it, then they were going to be out of business. So they made the really hard decision of just completely stopping their sales business and just focusing 100% on the rentals. It was kind of like a burn the ships kind of a scenario. Like, we don't have a choice. We just have to do it and try our best. And, you know, along the way, they got to a point, I'm just trying to remember the timeline exactly, but a little bit later down the road, they were facing some major challenges with their business. And they decided that they were going to try to sell their business to Blockbuster. And so they went to Blockbuster, which was this huge company at the time. We all know how that ended up. And, you know, they basically came to the decision that if they couldn't sell, they weren't sure if they could make it work anymore. They needed the backing of a big billion-dollar business like Blockbuster to make their company, to give the company the funds to be able to succeed. And they went to Blockbuster, and they basically gave them the whole spiel of how, you know, rentals and stuff, the rental of DVDs, and eventually streaming too, was going to be the future of movies in the world. And they laughed at them and turned them down. I think they were asking for like $150 million, and they had to find a way to make their business work. And then the dot-com bubble hit, and lots and lots of companies were going bankrupt, and nobody wanted to invest into internet companies anymore, even like a Netflix company. So that's just like a little bit of a taste of the challenges that Netflix went through in the first 5 years of their business. There was so many different opportunities and setbacks that came along that would have forced them to just quit or to close or to give up. And you know, now they're like I don't even know how much they're worth, $50 billion or something like that. They got through all of those circumstances by constantly like reassessing their situation. Even if they had to let go of half of their employees, they found a way to get through. And honestly, it was a really inspiring for me, because even though we as pastors don't deal with that kind of like money or those specific kind of obstacles, but I tell you, there's lots of discouraging things that happen. There's lots of setbacks. There's lots of obstacles that come along that sometimes really make it seem like, am I in the right place? Am I doing the right thing? It's not easy. I can tell you that much. So ownership means that sometimes we get the opportunity to reap the benefits of our work and our investments. But also, it means taking responsibility when things don't necessarily turn out the way that we thought that they would. And that could look very different in your life. It could be your finances. Like, finances aren't good. My health isn't good. My family's a mess. Or I'm not happy with the way certain things have turned out in my life. I'm not happy with the way things have turned out in the church. Actually, this is a huge shortcoming, just speaking honestly, in our church, the unification movement as a whole. If I can speak frankly, I think that this particular aspect is quite damaging to us. I think it's very healthy when we make mistakes and when we make plans and things don't pan out, that we go back and we look at, okay, what did we do wrong, you know? Where was the mistake? You know, really taking responsibility and saying, like, you know, let's look at the results today. how did it get this way? What mistakes did we? What mistakes did we make? How can we learn from the mistakes of the past? How can we do things differently going forward? And we don't really have a good practice of doing that, unfortunately. We tend to make the same mistakes over and over again and kind of push things forward, not really reflecting on what we may have done poorly or what maybe could have been done differently. But that's unfortunate. I really hope that we can do things better, at least locally. But I think that takes away all the benefit of ownership. That takes away all the benefit of growth, because it's only through making mistakes and then looking at, okay, where did I screw up? What did I do wrong? What was I unaware of? Or where was I too strong or too insensitive or whatever it was? You can apply this to parenting or business or whatever. What is it that I did wrong? What is it that could have been done better? And then to take an honest look at yourself and see what you can change, what you can grow, what you can improve, or getting help from others maybe who have been more successful than you were in that area. It's a process of repentance. It's a process of growth. It's a process of doing things not just differently, but with a different heart that allows us to create different results in our life. But that only really happens if we take a step back and we look and we admit our mistakes, admit our shortcomings, and determine to do better. This is a quote I also wanted to share. After the resurrection, Jesus asked Simon Peter, "Do you love me more than these?" And Peter answered, "Yes, Lord. You know that I love you." Do you know the next command of Jesus? Jesus repeated this 3 times, the same question, and when Peter replied, "Yes, Lord," then Jesus commanded, "Feed my sheep." Jesus wanted his undying love. Jesus wanted the disciple not as a follower, but to be as Jesus himself. Jesus wanted his disciple to be another Jesus. Jesus wanted his disciple to be not merely a follower, but to become as perfect and as great as he himself. In my own experience, after a long life of prayer, I discovered that this is really the way to serve God. Be not just a follower, not just a receiver of the command, but be one with God, be one with Christ. So do not hope to go into an already prepared heaven. There is no such heaven. You must create, construct, and reconstruct a heaven of your own. Then heaven is automatically yours. So, myself, I've had so many experiences, both as a pastor and as a father and as a husband, where I've had to really ask myself if I am owning my experience or my role, or if I am kind of more of a renter in the sense that I'm like a victim of my circumstances, a victim of my experiences, a blamer of other people for the situations that I find myself in. Because when things don't go the way we like in life, when the outcome isn't as expected, it's very easy to place blame. It's easy to place blame on, my spouse, my children, my job, my circumstances, the church, God. It can be very easy to do those things. But I found that the most growth and the most development and the most happiness and fulfillment comes when I take responsibility for the things in my life that I'm not happy about. And I say, I have to do better. I have to be honest with myself. And I think that I want to be a part of a church like that. Despite our imperfections and our shortcomings and the mistakes that we make, we look for how we could take personal responsibility for why things are the way they are today, without blame, without judgment, without accusation, and just strive to support one another the best that we can. This is from the Bible, from 1 Corinthians. He who plants and he who waters are one, and each will receive his wages according to his labor. And then lastly, Reverend Moon said, I want to leave just one tradition when everything is over, that I pursued the love of God and was a man of the love of God. When you go to spirit world, that love is the only asset that you have. That's the only thing you can take with you to the spirit world. When you possess the love of God, you can do all things, and on behalf of God, you can be given ownership of all things. Only in the love of God could it be justified. So what I see, what I hope to see, and what I do see developing in our community is really this sense of like a united effort. Like, we are all very different people with very different abilities and passions and goals in life. But we come together under a common purpose. And to express our love to God, to be here for God, to attend Him and to serve Him in some way. And the beauty of the thing like the 9 to 12 workshop is that anybody can go and take their family up to the mountains and go inner tubing and do some dance revolution or whatever they were doing, dance revolution or whatever, and eat some yummy food and things like that. And by all means, I'm not discouraging that. But actually, in addition to that, in support of that, we can also do more together as a community than we could individually. And I, for one, can testify that we can't provide everything that our kids need just as our own family. We just can't. We knew that from many years ago. That's why we knew that it was going to be more beneficial to us to bring our family out here away from the farm and work towards building a community here, a stronger sense of community here. But also, not just that we are doing things together under a common purpose, but also that individually everybody feels that they have something that they themselves uniquely have to offer. Like that they have an inspiration to do a 9 to 12 workshop or to start a ministry for, widows and divorced singles or whatever it is, that they can feel empowered to bring forth their idea, get support, get encouragement, of course, not have everything piled onto their shoulders, and to be able to do something that they feel is not only beneficial to their own self and their family, but also to the whole community. And I mean, I don't know if William was thinking that this was going to be something that God would be inspired about, but I think it is. So, maybe even more benefit than we think in the end. So I just want to impart this idea of ownership onto you today, onto all of us, that we are part of a group, but we also have our own individual callings and opportunities. And I want to encourage you today. I want to give you license or permission today that if you have a personal calling, we will try our best to encourage and uplift it, because we recognize that we're not all supposed to be doing the same thing. And I hope that as time goes by and you have maybe that a time comes in your life where you feel that personal desire to do something, that you can be encouraged that you are with like-minded people who want to see that thing happen and want to be a part of a community where lots of people are doing that. That's my message. Please join me in prayer. Good morning. Our most beloved Heavenly Parent, we thank you so much for this day. We look forward to welcoming back our 9 to 12-year-olds from their retreat, and we just are so humbled to be here this morning. We feel so much gratitude, Heavenly Parent, that we can be here in this moment. Yes, there's also pain and things haven't worked out the way that we wanted them to, but things never have, and this world is like that, Heavenly Parent, and we know that you are not discouraged, and you want us to be uplifted and to be encouraged and to not give up and not bow our heads in despair, but to keep going and to be encouraged and to be uplifted. Heavenly Parent, I pray that as a church family that we can uplift one another, that we can encourage one another when we become heavy, when our hearts become heavy, when the weight of responsibility seems too much, or when we just feel discouraged. Heavenly Parent, we know that if you were here with us in person, you would encourage us. You would give us encouragement to keep going step by step, Heavenly Parent. And I just pray that we can have the heart to do that with one another. And also, Heavenly Parent, that whatever we are dealing with in our church, whatever we're dealing with in our families and our personal lives, Heavenly Parent, please give us the strength and the grit and the wisdom to really be able to take responsibility for those things, Heavenly Parent, to be able to look deep within ourselves and ask ourselves the difficult questions. Where did I go wrong? What could I have done differently? What do I need to grow? What do I need to develop? Heavenly Parent, please help us to have the heart and the strength and the love to be able to impact our circumstances and the people in our lives the way that we'd like to, and the way you would like to see us do, Heavenly Parent. I thank you for this special day that we could all be together. I offer this prayer in this service to you. In our names, bless Central Families. Amen and Aju. Thank you.